So I'll be talking you through deep funding. I think deep funding has been around for a year by now. Actually, I was starting this presentation under the assumption that everybody would know deep funding that is here, but that might not be the case. So let's just quickly go through a few points of deep funding while I'm adjusting my screen a little bit. So the main goal of deep funding is a grant program. It's a grant program from SingularityNET, and the main goal of deep funding is to grow the AI platform, and doing that by supporting developers that want to create services, AI services on our platform, or that create solutions that use AI services, or that create other tooling or marketing initiatives around the platform. The most important aspect of deep funding is that it is community driven. So the SingularityNET Foundation and deep funding team, we can have all kinds of opinions on anything, but in the end, it is the community that decides which proposals are being awarded. Everybody can make a proposal and the community decides by a vote who will be awarded. But it goes further than that, the community-driven part. It's not just deciding who will win, but it's also talking with us and helping us with the governance, with the processes and tools around deep funding. So these 3 points you see here, we wrote down a year ago, and I think they're still valid. Although I must say that the term DAO is getting a little bit old already, interestingly. It's a little bit restricted, and maybe we should say a community-driven governance or something. And how that will look, we will find out in the future. So let's go to the next screen. Oh, oops, that's too far. So these are the main successful factors that we also outlined a year ago or something like that. And we can see now where we are. So some things I'm very happy with, some things I think still need to grow. So a constant supply of decent and high quality and good fit proposals, that is something that is very important. And I'm very, very happy with the proposals that we are getting in. I think there are a lot of very high level, very high quality proposals, and also a lot of high quality projects have been awarded. So on that part, I think I am most satisfied. Continuous and constructive community involvement. I would say from a quality point of view, I'm very happy, especially this last round. There were people who literally created hundreds of comments for all kinds of proposals, and also got very good feedback on those comments. And I saw a lot of intelligent, deep questions on a lot of proposals, so I'm extremely happy with that. Where we could improve here is the amount of people. And then finally, scalability in the event of growing popularity. Well, the event is already happening a little bit, but we're not there yet. We need better tooling, we need improved processes, maybe even a bigger team or more community involvement, which we are working on, and I might come to that in one of the next screens. So that's where we are now. By the way, this presentation goes from high level to a little bit more detailed things. I'm not quite sure how much time I will have. Should we not reach it to the end, it's not a problem. At least we have covered the most important things. I thought it would be good after finishing round 2. So we only had 2 regular deep funding rounds, which is amazing if I think about all the things that are happening. But so the most important metrics in this slide are that in round 2, we decided to halve the total amount that could be awarded. Also due to the token exchange rates at that time, and while we have token and we award in USD value of the token. But at the same time, you see that the number of submissions and the number of projects that were eligible have roughly doubled. So that means that the competition is 4 times as hard. So the double amount of people fight basically for half the amount of money. And that also means that there was a lot of competition in this last round. And I'm very happy with the projects that were awarded. I think our community did a very good job there. But of course, there are always a few people few things that you would like to see different. Personally, everybody has that. And there are certainly a number of proposals out there that were not awarded, but had really good quality projects. So that's a fact of life. I think as we are growing, that will happen more often. But I hope also to see the overall quality of all projects that are proposed growing. And I hope also that maybe next round we can increase the total awarded amount a little bit. But we'll see about that in a couple of months. So going to the end goal, since this is also about governance. So the guiding principles for governance in the context of deep funding would be these. Of course, the processes and tools should be transparent, fair, and reliable. Sounds like an open door, but might not always be. And it's something to have always in our mind, always be clear about. Might also be sometimes in conflict with things like privacy, so that is something we have to solve and also make a decision on. The thing that I take very seriously is that the deep funding team should always be prepared and able to explain the rules and calculations and outcomes of voting events. I did just that yesterday in a governance meeting. We had a very interesting governance meeting, real life governance, real discussions, real topics. And I also explained what went right and what went wrong and the reasoning. So that is the mindset that we have at deep funding. We try out a lot of things and sometimes things fail. We experiment a lot, come back to that. But we always explain what we're doing. Maybe we'll change a rule here and there, but we'll always be transparent with the goal of improving it in the next round. Now, the last thing is one for the long term, but it's something that I think is a key success factor for the sustainability of any decentralized program, to have a healthy dynamic. So that means one thing is that you don't have a dead end, that you don't vote on something forever. You can't change it anymore, for instance, because you never have a quorum that can change that vote. So you have to be careful that whatever you think is great today might not be that great tomorrow anymore. So you have to have great possibilities to make changes going forward. And that is also very important in the larger entity of SingComDAO, which we will be talking about later. I also want to avoid a situation that becomes stale, where you always see the same faces and there's never any change. And there are few faces with people that have known opinions and they always win because they are most popular or whatever. And similarly, I want to avoid a situation where we create layer upon layer upon layer, even if they're all community members. And all these people would get acquired rights and think they are somewhere and nobody can take it away from them anymore. I think the system should be governed by merit and activity, being actually active. And I think that is explained in the next slide. So what you can see here, that cloud would depict our community. And I think it's important that it stays dynamic, that there's a place for people that want to be really highly engaged and active. But there's also a place for people that are lower in activity, that don't have that much time maybe. And maybe that can change over time. Maybe some moment in your life or in your week or whatever, you have no time, and other periods you have a lot of time. And that should change also the way you interact with the community. Maybe time of day or week is not the best, but time of year or whatever could make those changes. And also it should be possible for new members to enter and get a good position and become active and become important. It shouldn't be the case that the current active people that are there and have been there for 2 years are so powerful and have so much staying power that new members will never be able to rise to the top. I think for a healthy system, it should be dynamic, it should be ongoing and flowing, which means that also sometimes people might not be that active anymore and at some point not be active at all anymore. Until maybe 2 years later, if they have a new job or whatever, they can come in again and then become active again. So I think when creating a system, whether it's with what we saw before, liquid democracy, or based on a reputation system, it should always have this in mind, that we keep the community fresh and open and dynamic. I'm probably talking too much on every slide, so we'll see how far we get. I had this slide at the end, but I decided to pull it up because I think this is probably the most important slide of this presentation. And also thinking about very recent discussions and happenings we had with our community. So the way I see deep funding maturing is through these 3 phases. So first, what we are doing is experimenting a lot, trying out things. And sometimes things are not perfectly defined yet, but we'll try, we'll see if it works. Sometimes, very often, we don't have the proper tools for them, which might lead to errors because we have to do things manually, which we rather would see automated, or there have to be large calculations or whatever. But we don't want to wait until we have perfect tools or perfect processes. We want to push on and experiment and learn as much as possible. And that's what we're doing right now. I expect in the next phase that the experimentation in the main part will become less, because we are finding out which things work well, which things work less, and we'll get in some kind of balance, and we have a proper tool set and a proper set of processes, etc., that we think, well, maybe from round 1 to 2, I think 70% of the things and the rules, etc., changed. I think when we are at round 7, and between round 7 and 8, maybe only 10% will change. And then we are in a consolidation state. And when we are sufficiently consolidated, we will go to the governed state. And that means that we can still make changes to these consolidated things, but these changes would need some proper governance. So suppose that I want to have a different set of pools or different conditions for entry or whatever. The rules for making those changes should become a little bit more strict the further we are in our maturity. Now, the important thing is that everybody should understand where we are today in this journey. So, not sure if you can see my mouse, Raphael, but I would say we are here right now. And of course, we get an issue if people think that we are here or are here, and they expect perfect processes and perfect definitions. And they are really people, if you have that expectation, then I can totally imagine that you are distressed if something is suddenly changed. On the other hand, if you know that we are here, that it's a lab, a real life lab that we're running here, yeah, then you should have some flexibility of mind to adjust to that. Now, if we go, as we go forward, we go through this, but it's of course not a one-way thing, it's a layered thing. So for our main processes and tools, we may be in a consolidate or in a govern state, while for some new experiment like liquid democracy, at some point, we might enter then first the experiment state. But it's always important to know for each of these things where we are. So this was the most important slide. Let me see how much time we have left for the next ones. Just check.
You have about 10 minutes.
Oh,
so without questions, we can have questions.
Not more. I can talk for hours on this. This slide alone, I can talk for 2 hours, because if there's anything I'm proud of, actually, is the amount of experiments that we're doing. We're really active. One person on Telegram said the other day to me, be a professor about this. And I said, no, we're not professors. We're really hands-on. We're trying things out every day. So just going through this list very fast, all the experiments that we did, we had graded for, and I can't go into all of them and explain all of them in depth. I would love to, but we'll have to do that in the next summit, I think. We started with graded voting from 1 to 10 instead of yes, no. We have milestone-based disbursements, which makes all our lives at Deep Funding a lot easier, at least, and also makes the relationships and the communication a lot easier. So that's probably the best thing I did. We have optional revenue sharing models where teams can define if there will be some feedback if a project is very successful to the treasury. We have tried different pool mechanics from round 1 to round 2. We started with the governance rounds. That's not something we designed from the start, but something we found out after round 1. There was room for that and it would make sense, and it was successful. We have reputation ratings and voting weights, which I just talked about with Anton. And based on our reputation, we have started also creating reputation and voting rewards to incentivize the community to become active. We actually implemented quadratic voting already. I know a lot of things can go wrong here, but we just did it and went for it. We have peer reviews by their awarded teams where teams and people that already were awarded are now advising the community on which projects in the next round they think are most valuable for the platform. We have community support on formal eligibility reviews, and all these things we aim to expand, and I think all of these things are promising. Actually, there's not one thing that I think we should stop with it, but all of these things are in the very early stage, and they need maturity. So we need to go from the experimental state to the consolidation state, and that will take time, that will take tooling, and that will take development. So on the tooling part, what we would need here, we would need a proper reputation, or as we will be calling it, contribution calculation and reputation tool. That's very important, and I'm very glad that a team that I also was involved in as an advisor has now been awarded to make that tool by Deep Funding itself. So that's also a great thing. I would love to have some kind of wallet reputation tool as a further strengthening of the reputation system. There are a lot of things on our website that are already improved, but we should keep improving. Maybe in the future we'll have some kind of marketplace for tasks and jobs and people that would like to offer them and work on them. And maybe we'll have a knowledge sharing environment, because if we have all of this, then Deep Funding is not just a grant program anymore. Then it is a community of collaborators. And that is the bigger vision here. That is something that we are aiming for. But of course, this is not done in a month. This is also not done in a year. I'll be looking forward to see where we are in 3 years from now. If I have to stop, you have to stop me, Raphael. Otherwise, I'll just continue.
Keep going, keep going. We are good.
All right, so let's have a little look at the reputation contribution system conceptually. So what we would like to do there, which I think will be a key instrument for Deep Funding, but also for SingComDAO and maybe for other entities out there as well. So in the middle, you see a calculation engine. And at the bottom, you see sources that go into it. So the contributions on the portal, which we are already measuring right now. The wallet reputation system could also go in there. Voting behavior of people could go in there. We could find some kind of algorithm based on what kind of voting behavior we think is desirable. So to give you an example, what usually is less desirable would be somebody giving 50 ones to all projects and then one project a 10. That would be quite unrealistic, but it would be very strategic for that one project. But that's not something we would like to see. So if somebody has consistently has that behavior, then we would reduce their voting weight based on their voting, their wallet behavior. We could also at some point start giving rates for governance activity, for being in meetings and being constructive there. That might also be an attribute. And based on all that data, we can put that in the mill and then calculate what was your contribution in the last round. And based on that, we can give you a reward as an incentive for being so active, and actually a reward for being so active and constructive. And we can look at your all-time rating to say, well, if you vote, you have been so constructive for so long and showed such good behavior, your vote should maybe weigh a little bit higher or a lot higher than somebody else's vote. And related to this, if we go one step further, well, this all-time rating, we can have a gradual degradation there so that the things that you did 3 years ago count less than the things you did last month, so that the system will, that's one way to make the system renewing. And my dream here for this toolset is that we can also have third-party ratings. So other people, other systems like Cardano Catalyst or Singularity DAO or Mindplex or whatever might be using the same toolset. And if somebody would have a very good rating, contribution rating on Cardano Catalyst, then the first time he would enter in the deep funding community, we might already give him some reputation because we have faith in his behavior on another platform. And we could do that with Cardano Catalyst, but we could do that with 10 other platforms as well. And then you get a merged reputation from people or individuals or individuals represented by their wallet that will become liquid in itself over different platforms. So do I still have time, Rafael? You're muted.
Yes, we still have 15 minutes, considering Q&A as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I can relax. Okay, great. So this shows real-time actual data from our last round, round 2, from deep funding. So what we are doing at the end of each deep funding round is creating an in-depth analysis. At least that's what we have done for the last 3 rounds, including the governance round. Because we want to learn from what is happening. We are experimenting so much that we also have to analyze what happened so that we can see how we should change things in the next round. So what you see here is the effect of quadratic voting power at the left. So at the top image, you see without quadratic voting. So quadratic voting means that instead of one token, one voice, you say we'll take the square root of your token balance, and that will be the amount of votes that you will get, which means that the whole thing is equalized. So there's now less of a difference between a voter here and a voter here than in this image. So that's the one thing. And the other thing we did is use contribution ratings or reputation ratings, that's the same thing, as an extra weight on for votes. So that means, and one of the reasons is that we want to mitigate the risk of people splitting their wallets. So if you only do quadratic wallets, voting, and you have a wallet with 1 million AGIX, and you split it into 100 wallets with 10,000 AGIX, your voting power would increase. Of course, you would need to have to go through 100 voting events, which is quite a lot of work. But if you want to create a reputation for 100 wallets, that would be really hard, because for each of these wallets, you would need to be active on the portal, and other people would need to recognize that activity. So maybe it can be gamed, everything can be gamed, but it will be increasingly hard. And what you see here is that we gave a weight factor. So we put, based on your contribution rating, we put everybody in a tier. So the lower tiers, G and F, got no extra weight, because you had to go above a certain threshold and do more than just 2 comments, 4 or whatever, to get a score at all, a positive score. But if you are at the top percentile, you would get a weight factor of 5, which is a lot. But then on the other hand, these are the people that pushed hundreds of valuable comments in the portal. Now, I can imagine over time, if more people get active on the portal, and these people will also be better integrated with the voting portal and better recognized, that this weight factor will come down, that it doesn't have to be this extreme anymore. But that's one of the things we have to learn and will come apparent in the consolidation phase. And then, of course, this is so there's already a lot to do here. There's already a lot mature. We need to mature. We need to have proper tooling, etc., to make this better. Even making reputational contribution scores liquid. Yeah, you have to have tools. You can't do that in a spreadsheet anymore. So yeah, a next addition to this could also be liquid democracy. So voting, giving somebody else the opportunity to vote for you, or to vote on a certain pool or a certain type of projects for you. But maybe we should have also community panels where people get informed about certain specifics, and then based on that we'll make a decision. Or maybe we would have theme guilds, or maybe there will be other processes or tools or instruments later on that we can apply. And at some point, we will be consolidated in quadratic voting and contribution ratings, and then we can start experimenting with new things and be wild about that while the basis is already consolidated. And then this is actually my last slide. So coming back to this as the main message of my presentation, we have to go through these phases, and I am very happy with the phase that we are. I love to experiment. It can't be too much for me. Sometimes I'm going a little bit too fast and I have to take a step back because the community is not quite ready for that. But that's something that we have to continue to work out together, and continue to talk and continue to explore, to see what is necessary to make deep funding the greatest grant program out there, and the greatest community of creators and collaborators.
That's the true goal, right? To have as much as interested contributors into this community, actively contributing with potential positive feedbacks, also making points where we can improve. And something that caught my attention, Jan, it's about normally communities are built in silos. And what we are envisioning, it's exactly this, trying to break some silos in order to having, for instance, a reputation from prior communities that you can use in ours, and perhaps create this network where we can share experiences in order to have background from different communities operating also and bringing different experiences and backgrounds into what we believe it's going to be the best for that goal. Each community has their own goal, of course, one with AI, the other with IoT perhaps, and so on. But having these silos break are wonderful. I have 2 points here. One is, I didn't get, even though we have people watching on YouTube live, we didn't have questions. But that actually, I was thinking, it's probably a point where we are so open and we are so in constant contact with community that they already know much of a lot of what we are doing, right? And that's also a good thing to have. The other point is from your presentation, and I would love to ask you, from all that list that you have of features that were implemented by you and along with the community, which one? Yeah, here, yes. Which one you are more proud of because you felt that it brought a lot of value to the program itself?
Yeah. Well, Raphael, as partner in crime these days and big supporter of me in deep funding, I think what made our lives a lot easier is point 2, milestone-based disbursements. There was not an immediate obvious choice. We could also have done it time-based, for instance, but the benefit of doing it milestone-based is that we have a different relationship with teams, because every team operates in their own speed, and people have other things in their life as well. So sometimes they can go really fast and other times they have to slow down or they have to take a break or whatever. And my job would be hell, I think, if every month or so, or every week or every month or whatever, I would have to chase these teams and say, you promised that you would have this milestone, where is it? And then they would have to explain to me, and then I have to get mad, and that would really be very awkward and not very constructive either. So what we are doing instead, we're saying, give us your milestone, show what your plans are, and every time you deliver a milestone, we give you the amount. And in the first round, it was for the actual milestone. Afterwards, in the next round, in the second round, we did it. We give you the amount for the second milestone, the next milestone. I'm not sure how we will do that in the next deep funding round, but it's not only, it makes my life easier, which is not important, but that also means that we don't need to have a lot of overhead with 10 people chasing things and keeping track of stuff. Which is better for deep funding and for the treasury of deep funding. But I think the most important thing is that this way we keep the communication with the teams open and constructive. So if a team member, and there are some team members that are struggling for very diverse reasons to deliver something. So if it will take a while, yeah, we will ask, and we will send reports, etc., and we'll try to help them and to support them, but we don't need to get angry about it. We can be very constructive about it, and we can say, well, listen, if for some reason it doesn't work now for the next 2 months, then make sure, do what you have to do and come back in 2 months, and then we'll pay you for your milestone. So I think that is a very healthy way of doing things. And so looking back, I think historically that might have been our best decision so far. Going forward, I really hope that we'll see the reputation system mature and shine and fly.
Amazing, amazing. Indeed, the milestone brought some sort of proactiveness for the teams in order for them to support us as well. It's a two-way street here, right? So it's important having this as well from the perspective of the program.
Yeah, I think
we have.
If I may, I think it's important to mention that we try to have a very constructive mindset in deep funding. We don't want to give out grants and then constantly be policing and only looking at the formal part. So we see ourselves as part of the team, and we want the teams to become successful in order to make our platform successful. So that is our goal. And together we need to find a way to achieve that goal. And that's much more important than looking at rule A, B, or C or whatever. Of course, the promises made to the community are promises made, and that's based on those they have been rewarded. So they have to adhere to that, but in a friendly and constructive way.
Okay, sounds makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Very quickly, if we can, because we only have about 1 or 2 minutes. Will you be able to point 3 great challenges that this program has from now on?
Yes, let me think. I would say, yeah, like I think there is also a slide touching on that. So 2 things are obvious, right? So it's making sure that there are always enough proposals coming in. A lot of proposals, and more is generally better. Another thing, which is very important, is to have enough community members feeling engaged and interacting, etc. But with those 2 things, we are not there yet. So the third ingredient would be the magic ingredient, and that's something I'm searching for, and I think we will be continuing to search for, which is the ingredient that ensures that the highest quality projects are surfacing and are being selected eventually. And I think all other things that we are doing, whether it's reputation or whether it's quadratic voting or peer reviews or whatever, and other things that we will do in the future, all these things have the goal of ensuring that, well, the system is not gamed, but that in itself is also a way of ensuring that the highest, most value-adding projects will surface and will find their way to the platform. So that's an ongoing game, and I see it a little bit as a game to find a new measure and a new measure, and maybe take out something that doesn't work, and yeah, continuously keep evolving the system until we get a kind of machinery that really works and gives us the best outcomes.
Perfect. Jan, thank you very much for your talk.